All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. We have the second major of the year. That's right, the PGA Championship is here, and I have you guys covered here with the preview, the top picks and plays, a first look build, some of my favorite outright bets, as well as values. Let's go in and get into it. And so when we go ahead and look at this course that we're going to be playing at Valhalla, we have seen this tournament or this course played at this tournament in 2014 when Rory won that tournament. That being said, we don't have much to go off of with course history because obviously that event took place 10 years ago. They have since made the track a little bit longer as well. So the course is going to play a little bit differently. Now, when I went ahead and looked at what were the key characteristics of his win there, it did echo what we have seen from the PGA Championship in the past as well. So we want to be looking at golfers that are going to be long off the tee. Strokes gained off the tee is going to be a key stat. Total driving is going to be a key stat. Ball striking as well. Those kind of more off the tee based stats, but both long and accurate based stats, those are going to be huge. You also need to focus on golfers that are not going to make many mistakes. Bogey avoidance is going to be key, but you also have to focus on golfers that are going to be scoring. So those are going to be some of the key stats that we're looking at. But you also need to be focusing on golfers that are really just not going to make that much mistakes. They're just going to be hitting greens. Strokes gained approach and just greens in general were pretty key in 2014, but they're also key at PGA Championship. So really what we're looking at in terms of how to establish what are going to be the best stat fit plays, looking at the past PGA Championships and then looking at 2014 a little bit. Didn't put as much stock into that as some people might, but we can get a good idea of who are going to be the best stat fit. So in total, the stats I'm looking at, effective scoring, which is going to be that 9 to 5 only stat, which is basically combining both upside and then safety to make the cut. That's what that stat's pulling in. Greens gained, ball striking, EBTB, that is effective birdie to bogey ratio, which is putting emphasis on bogey avoidance and really just avoiding big numbers, but also focusing on scoring as well. Kind of have to do a combination stat there. Also looking at total driving and strokes gained off the tee as an FYI. So looking at that, the best stat fits that we have, I mean, no real shock. Scotty, Aubert playing well, Xander playing well. You got Rory popping up in there. The one shock up here is really Tony Finau. If we use just the stats from previous years, John Rahm's popping up in there, but really no shock in terms of who the best stat. It's golfers that are playing great golf this year are going to be the golfers that are popping up here. In terms of course history, it's more event history this year. And so what I mean by that is we have to pull in basically the past majors for course history. And so I always want to look at least 2 starts for course history typically. But at the same time, people that are playing well in majors tend to play well. So what we're looking at for course history, and this is kind of just comp course history. I think these are always the best comp courses we can look at. But remember, the specialist data is pulling in all the unique characteristics for that week's tournament, putting them into individual data points. So that's pretty much better than looking at comp course history. Why I'm pulling this in is because, well, they're majors. Players do tend to play better in majors than regular season events. And so I do think that's something we want to look at. So we're looking at last year's U.S. Open, the past 2 PGA Championships, and then we are also looking at the 2024 Masters because that was the most recent major. The Open Championship slightly plays differently than does the PGA Championship and U.S. Open. The U.S. Open and PGA Championship tend to play the same. So when we look at it in that regards, Aubert, yeah, he played well at the Masters. He's probably someone we're going to look at. But yeah, Will Zalatoris, who dealing with maybe a back injury. We'll see. Tommy Fleetwood, though, that's certainly an interesting one. 5th, 18th, 5th, 3rd. Could this finally be the season that Tommy Fleetwood breaks through for people? Maybe. We'll see. Cam Smith popping up in there. He wasn't as popular for the Masters as I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be uber chalk. I thought a lot of people were going to bet on him. If you guys are someone that does like pools, like Masters pools, not many people are on him. And with a 6th place finish, he's seemingly going to be a great play. Then you got Rory coming in off of 2 straight victories. That's going to be appealing. You got Bryson in a much better course for him probably than the Masters. The Masters, he really just had 1 really amazing round and then 3 just decent, but he still finished well. Xander continuing to play great golf. I mean, he's arguably I would have said the 2nd best golfer in the world had they not played last week, him and Rory in the Wells Fargo Championship, but 3rd best player in the world. I think that's pretty clear now. He just continues to pump out great results every single week. Maybe not winning upside results, but continues to be a safe and reliable player. Terrell Hatton, certainly going to be someone we're looking at. And then Scotty Scheffler, 1 bad start mixed in there, but that was 2 years ago at the PGA Championship. Other than that, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. So again, slightly knocked for that, but at the same time, like, who cares? Kyle Morikawa obviously plays really well in majors. Shane Lowry plays well in majors. Brooks Koepka plays well. Patrick Reed, Matt Fitzpatrick. I mean, we just have a ton of people that are pretty good major players as well in this field. So that is obviously something we're going to be looking at. Let's go ahead and look at the top stat fit. All right, so the golfers that are in the best recent form heading into the PGA Championship: Scotty Scheffler, no doubt, that one's easy. Aubert, a little bit better form in comparison to Xander and Rory. Now, Rory has won back-to-back weeks. He has been making a ton of cuts in a row. I would argue you could kind of just, it doesn't matter which of those three you like most in terms of recent form. They're all just in good recent form. That's what that's telling us. The fifth player in this might shock some people, Alex Noren. He has been on a tear, okay? And really his worst event recently was, well, last week, but also in a secondary event, which maybe he just didn't get up for that. Maybe he didn't get up for the no-cut nature of the Wells Fargo Championship. He played well in the first round. The fact that he has been playing this well, fifth best, and you can get him at like 150 to 1 outright-wise, that's amazing odds. That should not be happening. Like, he's just been playing too well for that to be occurring. So if you want to chase recent form, he is someone you should be playing. Cam Smith, when we have seen him on the PGA Tour, has played well. That has continued on LIV. He's been playing well there as well. Siwoo Kim, just been basically top 20 machine this season, 14 straight make cuts. Hideki withdrew from his last event last week. We gotta see some news on him, but he's in some good form. The point is, we have a lot of golfers that are in great form. I mean, that's the thing. That's what's nice about this one as compared to like the Masters, where we had a very tight funnel of golfers we wanted to be on. Whereas this week, I would still say it's a pretty tight funnel, but you could still make some more cases for some players that you probably couldn't have at the Masters. So let's go and jump into the specialist data, and then I'll get into the top picks and plays. So the specialist data can be nice for, well, looking at some LIV golfers as well, because I am not pulling in LIV golf results. I still, even looking at the Masters results, I still don't think we have a proper sample size of how to adjust their starts on LIV to PGA Tour results. That's literally why they're not getting world golf ranking point, is because it hasn't exactly correlated too well. It's more random still. Now, one thing that I find super interesting about kind of looking at the specialist data is, one, you could look at location. Like, not many people play at Kentucky. I mean, that's something I want to point out is that not many golfers have starts in Kentucky-based tracks. Certainly interesting there. I think maybe the Barbasol Championship's like the only one off the top of my head. But looking at, we do have a decent amount of bunkers. That could be something you're looking at. Green width, or fairway width, sorry. These are going to be tight fairways. It's also going to be a longer track. So we'll be looking at that. Golfers that have played well on these longer tracks. It's going to be a hard scoring event. We know that. And so if you just kind of wanted to dial in the specialist data, these are going to be those players that are popping up in there. Again, not big of surprises there, but again, one name that's popping up in there, Alex Noren. We also have Siwoo Kim popping up there. Akshay Bhatia, I kind of butcher his last name, I always do. He won, I believe it was the junior, whatever tournament Matt Fitzpatrick won prior to the U.S. Open when he won there. Akshay won that tournament. And he's not someone you should be on outright-wise, but he does have course familiarity and some of the more recent course familiarity. So maybe someone you could look at. But I do think, like, if you're really trying to dial in on unique course characteristic stats, these are going to be the ones you want to look at. All right, enough with that fun stuff. Let's go into the top plays for you. All right, so now jumping into the top picks and plays for this week, and it's pretty clear that we're probably playing Scotty. Now, Scotty, people are going to be worried about because he is coming in off of the birth of his first born. Now, apparently that happened 10 days ago, so, you know, he should somewhat be adjusted for that. Also, you're going to imagine that he's going to still come prepared for this major. It's not like he's just going to be winging it. He's going to want to play well. And so I think he's going to be ready. Now, maybe he's not as dominant as he typically is, but I still think we're probably going to be locking in around a top 15 place finish. Maybe there's the baby narrative. Maybe he's more motivated to play well. Heck, maybe not even playing last week's going to be good for him as well. He did play in a bunch of tournaments and has won a bunch of tournaments or been in contention to win a bunch of tournaments. Honestly, that could be a little bit of a stress relief. And it's the fact that, like, his wife didn't, I mean, she did 10 days ago, but it's not like it's 3 days ago, 4 days ago. He's adjusted. They should be good to go. And so he should be treated as the top play. And you can fit him into your builds quite easily as well if you choose to do so. And it's not like the Masters, well, I felt like we had to play him. Like, if you're doing your group pools or if you're doing DFS, like, you had to play Scotty. It was just too easy of a play. I'm not exactly sure that's going to be the case this week, and that's simply because, one, you got to be prioritizing getting to Xander, because Xander has just been so reliable. And I know he was a letdown last week, finishing second. Rory just went off. And we'll get into Rory in a second. I looked in terms of, like, the model rank. It was so close between Rory and Xander for the spot too, but it's kind of clear that those are the next best after Scotty. And it comes down to Xander just extremely consistent. Again, top 20 or better in the last, kind of 4 majors that we're looking at. Key stat wise, really strong across the board. Again, strokes gained off the tee ranks out well as well. In that effective birdie to bogey ratio, 5th there. Greens gained, maybe the slight worry with him. 13th in the field, 5th in ball striking, effective scoring, 6th in the field. So he really is coming in checking all the boxes. And at that price tag, it's going to be super difficult not to end up on Xander. And so for like a first look build, I think you should be putting Xander into your build to start. If you have some salary left over and you like Rory better, you can play him. And Rory does make a lot of sense now, coming in off of 2 straight victories. Now, if you're looking on DraftKings, they're not going to show the Zurich Classic, which was 2 events ago. It's a team event. They chose not to include that. I choose to include that because, well, playing good golf is playing good golf. And I do think that that's always a good thing. And, he had been someone that, for his standards was playing poorly. He was overpriced for most of the season, really up until the Zurich Classic. And that was kind of like the perfect spot to get right. I felt like that was a good spot for him. And then last week, it was like, all right, we're playing Xander, we're playing Rory, we're figuring out from there. That worked out. And we might be in that same situation again this week. Like, you could easily go Rory and Xander and feel pretty good about your builds. Now, Rory is kind of the defending major champion at this course in 2014. There's not that many other players that were in this event in 2014. I think that's something that we should be calling out, though. Like, people are going to put a lot of stock into that. I think like Phil, there's a few other golfers that actually played in 2014. But looking at guys, he has been very good in the past few majors, except for that Masters tournament where he finished 22nd. Still, that's not terrible, but at his price tag, we certainly need to be getting better results than that. Obviously, coming in off of a bunch of victories, I would say it makes sense why the data slightly prefers Xander. A little bit safer on paper, especially given kind of the recent form-ish. But for the most part, still, I mean, those are the top 3 plays, clearly. I would say there's a big tier drop-off from there. And so just as an FYI, again, like live golfers are typically just not going to rank out well in the data because, well, most of their starts that are going into the data were when they were thinking about leaving the PGA Tour. Now we've gotten adjusted for some of the majors as well, but they're just typically not ranking out well because they're past few events on the PGA Tour were not good. But what to do with Brooks Koepka this week? I mean, that seems to always be the question when it comes to these majors. I feel like he's not someone you really typically want to be targeting at the Masters too much. So the PGA Championship, the US Open are much better picks. He was my one and done pick last year for the major, for the PGA Championship. Kind of got lucky that he won. He is coming in off of a victory on live as well. Take that for what it's worth. It's not a bad thing. I do fear that he's a little bit priced up. At the same time, you do get to a point where you just kind of blindly trust Brooks to figure it out. And so he is certainly someone you should be on. I think another player that, you kind of just blindly trust is going to be Ludwig Olber, where he is someone that is really giving me Colin Morikawa vibes when he won his first major. And I really wouldn't be shocked to see him win. Now, he did withdraw from last week's event due to an injury. That's probably precautionary. He's probably going to be more risky now because of that, though. But on paper, he is just a spectacular play. Like, looking at it, guys, look at this. I mean, this is insane. So played well at the Masters. Love that there from him. 3rd in the field in effective scoring, and then top 6 in ball striking and greens gained. Love that there from him. Metrics wise, again, we're looking at Masters history, only 1 start going in there, but best there, 2nd best stat fit, 2nd best recent form. He's getting knocked a little bit just without having that much majors experience and whatnot, but still coming in as a great play. It wouldn't be surprising to see him win. I'm kind of okay with blindly trusting those 2 plays, but we might not have to because you have Cameron Smith who just continues to produce great results. I'm a little bit shocked at the pricing of him, honestly, and I think it's just kind of honestly a little bit of live bias potentially. He hasn't been playing poorly on live as well, but the past few times we have seen him on the PGA Tour, he's played well. A 6th place finish at the Masters earlier on this year. The last 2 US Opens and PGA Championship, top 10 there. Okay, so really across the board, he's just going to be a great play. I think he's someone that we can trust as well. And I sort of feel like this pricing that we're getting on him is just such an extreme discount for the likely outcome that he's going to have. Like, he probably will finish as a top 10 finisher, top 15 place finisher. And so for me, I really like the idea of going Xander and Cameron Smith, locking in a lot of the safety there because we're probably getting 2 top 15 place finishes at the very least. Now from there, we could get cute with who we want to get to and whatnot. I might be doing a live stream again on Wednesday. I probably will. So if you guys have questions about any of those players, get those in that day. But let's go ahead and jump on into some of these other plays that we can be on. So Tommy Fleetwood is going to be extremely difficult not to be on. He's probably my next favorite play. And I'm just going to go ahead and put him into the build for now because he does really stand out. And again, with some of the soft pricing that we're going to get later on, you can easily fit him into your build. So looking at Tommy Fleetwood, obviously has been playing extremely well in the past majors, especially the ones that we're looking at. Top 20 or better. Love that there from him. The issue with him is that he's not the best stat fit, 60th in the field, which is a little bit shocking to me, but still a top 9 specialist, third best in terms of like event history or whatever, comp course history, if you will. 14th best in recent form. Sure, maybe a little bit of risk, but he has made 5 straight cuts in a row. And if we pull up his player profile here, what we're going to notice is not too many alarming stats. You know, 1 missed cut recently, but besides that, he's typically someone that is strong form-wise. Top 10 in the field in recent form rank over his past 15 starts with an average finish of 28th over those. So we like that there from him. I mean, very strong play. Now, he might be the first one out of the build if we don't have the salary left over, but right now he's looking like a great play. Now, I don't know if you exactly need to go there. Shane Lowry, the data likes more. Once we get some of the outright odds in there, that's going to probably filter out. Same thing with Terrell Hatton. Like, he probably won't be a top 5 play, but the point still stands that he's going to be a great play. And he is someone that, all right, if you're a little bit worried about Tommy Fleetwood, you're just going Terrell Hatton. Hatton has been playing fine on Live Golf. We love his results there. I shouldn't say love. We're happy with his results that he's been doing on Live Golf. Really no terrible starts, hasn't won. Honestly, he doesn't seem like someone that really is gearing up to win. He just wants to continue to get these top 10 finishes, which is what he did at the Masters tournament. And kind of like Bryson, the Masters is not exactly a great fit for him. And so the fact that he finished top 10 there, phenomenal. And so the fact that we're getting him at 8.2 at a course that's going to be a much better fit for him at a tournament nowadays, finished 15th and 13th. That's phenomenal. 27th at the U.S. Open. So, like, he is someone that just long-term wise, I mean, we can see third best in the field if you're just looking at PGA Tour starts over his past 15 starts. Like, that is phenomenal. He is someone that just typically plays well. And so if we're choosing between, like, Tommy Fleetwood and Terrell Hatton there, I'm probably going Hatton. He's cheaper. Slightly better play as well. From there, we do get a little bit more risky with it. So you got Benny Ann coming in with 2 straight very good finishes. He is a little bit hit or miss for someone to like fully trust. And one stat that kind of popped up in 2014, and I just don't think it's going to pop up as much this year in terms of predictability. We did see stroke gain around the green, stroke gain putting pop up a decent amount. Not enough for me to be like, yeah, we need to be gung-ho about that stat. But if that does end up happening, we might worry about Benny Ann a little bit. But the fact that we could potentially get a top 10 finish, like, he's risk reward. He's Russell Henley, who is also a play that I'll touch on in a second here. Like, those 2 plays are 2 plays that you're going to be on, chasing the upside, chasing a top 20 finish at a cheap price tag, because they have done that in their form. They did that at the Masters tournament as well. And so that is Benny Ann, risk reward based play, but he is seemingly going to be a solid play. My worry is that he might have peaked a week too early last week. And yes, I mentioned Russell Henley as well. He is definitely someone that's hit or miss. The length of this track definitely does hurt him. And so that is going to be a concern, but he is someone that when he's on, he's giving us potentially a top 10 finish. Okay. That's just what you know with him. And then looking at it, like 14th place finish at the US Open in the past, like he hit solidly. So if he can continually find the fairway, that's like the biggest thing with him. He needs to find the fairway. He's going to be fine. If he gets caught up in that thick rough, probably not going to be fine, which also is the same case with Corey Connors. Like, Corey Connors, one of the best staff hits in the field and in pretty good recent form. So he's the 7th best staff in the field, top 10 in recent form rank, just been making a bunch of cuts in a row. Okay. But his only good start really at one of the majors was a 12th place finish at last year's PGA Championship. That is a little bit concerning to me. He is someone that does need to hit the fairway and hit the greens. Okay. He cannot be finding the rough, or else he's going to be in trouble. He's not going to make the cut. And then 2 other players that I'm pretty okay with getting to. Again, Alex Noren, I'm a little bit shocked that the day is not liking him as much, but it comes down to the fact that he hasn't produced in the past few major opportunities that he's gotten. Now, he should have been in the Masters tournament field. That's my whole gripe around the Masters. Like, it's supposed to be the biggest event in golf, had the best players in the world in there. Like, the whole Taylor Gooch stuff where he was complaining that he wasn't in the field. I'm like, you wouldn't even be next on the list. Like, Alex Noren is certainly getting snubbed right now because he has been playing some great golf. I mean, look at this guy's recent form wise, like data point wise, it is the majors result. But other than that, fantastic results there from him. 11th best specialist, 5th best in recent form, 15th best stat fit. Now, again, he's very much getting knocked because of that terrible majors history, but he is someone that coming in and off of a fine week last week, I expect him to make the cut at least. And it's such a cheap price tag. And it's kind of one of those players where I just can't quit as well, especially at a cheap price tag. I was hoping he would be below 7K though. That's a little bit of an annoyance. And then 3 more plays to touch on. We're going to start or keep on in this tier here, and we're going to talk about Siwoo Kim. So Siwoo Kim has been playing much better recently. I mean, 7th best in recent form, 9th best over the past 5 starts, top 20 over the past 15 starts. So like really across the board, he's just been solid over the last 10 starts, 3rd best in the field. So long-term, short-term, he's been someone that's been playing extremely well. 11th best Stafford as well. Again, the concern with him is maybe the lack of upside in these majors where I hate to say it, but they really are just geared towards certain players winning. Like you think why Brooks Koepka can produce at these tournaments, it's kind of because they're geared up for his style of play, for his length, for his strength out of the rough. Whereas not so much so for players like Siwoo Kim, Corey Connors, Russell Henley. Like they kind of get the tail end of that stuff. But still, at this price tag, given the form, given how strong of a play he's been this season, he's also someone I'll be looking at. And now 2 value plays where you are clearly getting some discount. Well, I should call Chris Kirky is not someone I was going to list, but yeah, below 7K, 6 straight make cuts in a row, top 45 or better in all the key metrics that we're looking at. Certainly someone you should be looking at, certainly too cheap. Again, once the outright odds come in here, he's not going to be the 16th best pick in the model. He's probably going to be closer to 30, still going to be way too cheap given how good of a play he is. Same thing for Keith Mitchell here, guys. Keith Mitchell is someone that I personally do not get why he is this cheap. He should be more expensive than this. Maybe it's because he's coming in with 2 bad results over his past 6 starts, but you look past that, top 10 finish, top 20 finishes, still been kind of producing that exact same way. Stat fit wise, though, that's huge. He is long off the tee. Ball striking, 2nd best in the field. Effective scoring, I messed that up. Greens gained, 2nd best in the field. Ball striking, 7th best in the field. Effective scoring, which is that risk reward kind of stat, 34th in the field. And then that effective scoring stat, which is bogey avoidance and scoring, still 35th in the field. Like that is amazing. And I know we have more live golfers, so kind of adjust for that. Maybe 40th in the field, whatever. Still, he's made the cut at the past few majors that he's been in as well. Not the best specialist. There's a little bit of concern there, but given the pricing that we're getting, if you are playing Scotty, if you are playing Rory, Keith Mitchell is someone that you should be playing. Again, he's going to be someone that once we get the outright data pulled in there, more made cut data in there, he's probably going to be top 20, top 25 in the 9-to-5 model. But without that, he is looking like a great play because he has been a great play. Has a good made cut streak going for the most part, 3 straight. Solid play. And another one that I was pretty surprised by that's popping up as much as he is, Lucas Glover, 13th best in the 9-to-5 model right now. Again, this is going to be adjusted, probably going to be closer to 28 or so once the data from the outright stuff comes in. I want to be factoring it in there. But just looking at it in this regard, he kind of clearly stands out. And why is that? Well, he made the cut at the Masters, finishing 20th in the field. And so already he's got that going for him. At the last major that we saw him in was the 2022 PGA Championship, finished 23rd there. He has been playing some great golf. He's 27th best in the field, stat fit wise. Love that there from him. Not making many mistakes as well, capitalizing when he has gotten the opportunities as well. 9th in the field in that effective birdie to bogey ratio. Recent form, I think, is the biggest polar here for him, and he's also a good specialist. But recent form wise, 16th, 33rd, 20th, 25th, 11th. 1 missed cut, and then still pretty good results in there. And so he is someone at 6.1 you can just put in to make the cut. That is really what you're looking for. And the one issue that I have with Lucas Glover as a play is kind of the golden rule with Lucas Glover. There's a bunch of other players like this. When you resort to trusting Lucas Glover is when he disappoints you the most. This is the Adam Scott rule. Okay, and the Lucas Glover rule for that matter. But just on paper at 6.1, clearly a missed price. Probably should be closer to 6.9, kind of like Chris Kirk. He's basically Chris Kirk with a good finish at the Masters. So he's someone that we should be playing at that price tag. And so again, I mentioned you could make getting Fleetwood Hatton in there, but let's get off of Hatton. Still 7.5 left over. And so getting into the first look build here, like I could put Mitchell in there for now. Again, he's pretty cheap. And then you have 8.4 left over. Shane Lowry, the data likes. I don't know if I can get there. Shane Lowry just hasn't been playing as well recently as I would want. 47, 64th, 43rd. Just he's been on the back end of some form. Now, he did win at the Zurich Classic with Rory. I do think that's a good sign for him, and that's why the data likes him. I don't know if I need to get there. And this is kind of a little bit of a dead range, honestly, for me. So this is where it gets difficult. And so I like Alex Noren a little bit more than the data does. So maybe be on him a little bit more and then maybe get off of Keith Mitchell or Lucas Glover, but that doesn't really leave us with much. And so that is my conundrum right now. I actually want to see what the lineup builder's telling us, so let's go ahead and check that out. And while this is loading up here, I should mention that last week I probably hurt myself a little bit with the alternative field events where I capped some players I shouldn't have, Chris Goddard being one of them. I finished 8th place in one of the bigger contests there, lineup wise. Was in first for a lot of the day on Saturday. A little bit bittersweet, but I know that I did not use this tool as it should have been. I tried to adjust some stuff for what I saw fit. I'm actually curious, like anyone that used, I'm sure someone else that used this probably won a GPP last week for that event. Then also finished 4th in the round 2 showdown. And so again, little things here or there. Someone that used this probably easily could have taken down a round 2 showdown then as well. All right, so we're just going to generate this and see what it spits out. All right, so what it views as the top build, and I don't really like Kurt Kitayama for whatever that's worth. I don't like him. And again, I don't really like Shane Lowry as much as the data currently does. So some slight adjustments there. But Xander does like Cameron Young. Hatton's being pulled in there. Benny Ann, that makes sense. Corey Connors, given how well he's played, making a bunch of cuts in a row, it makes sense why that's pulling in there. And let's just see the exposures right now. So I capped it at 3 unique players and 35% max exposure. It's going to round up to 40 because we're only doing 20 lineups right now. But it's getting to a lot of Xander, Cameron Young, which I don't know if I exactly agree with Cameron Young. I would rather get to Cam Smith at a slightly increased price tag. I'd rather get to Fleetwood instead, but we're already getting 40% of him. So it does make sense. And the data does still like Alex Norm. So again, this will change a little bit once we get the outright odds in there, but certainly a good starting point for you guys. Now that's going to be all for this video. Going to be coming out with a lot more coverage here for the PGA Championship. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers this week. Can do that with your guys' help, so I would appreciate that. If you guys want access to any of the tools that you saw in this video and much more, head on over to 9to5sports.com. They're available for just $10 a month. All right, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck this week. And as always, let's keep cashing.